Hello there, my name's Ray. I'm with Team S.T.E.A.M. and today I'm getting ready to get this guy here aired up, pulled out of the shop, parked out in the yards. So we can get this guy here pulled in the shop and under our knife. All right, so I got this guy pulled in the shop and didn't look at it for more than 2 seconds before I realized that I probably need to run this under a hot pressure washer, and I'll show you why. This is the kind of work you can expect from subpar truck shops. See that? Around all these rivets. Everywhere I look. From around the rivets, they didn't prep it. They didn't prep in the tight corners. That the paint job never held. This paint job's only a few years old. It had just gotten painted before this owner bought this truck. And one pressure wash later, paint starts coming off. And now all of a sudden your truck doesn't look like a new truck. It doesn't look like a freshly painted truck. It looks like a mess. And I won't pretend to know how many trucking companies out there enjoy that. Paying that much money, taking that much time out of their schedule, hitting it with a pressure washer one time and having the paint start to come off in multiple places. I don't know how many companies enjoy that, but my guess is not very many. So before I do anything else, I'm going to pull this guy outside, hit it with a hot pressure washer, and see just how much of this paint I can get to come up. So here I am out behind the shop, and I've begun pressure washing on this, and my pressure washer is nothing impressive. I'm just running hot water from the house, just right out of a garden hose, to my little pressure washer, 2300 PSI. That's just a electric, very domestic pressure washer. 2300 PSI is very mellow. It's in the world of pressure washers, it's nothing. 3500 is when they start getting impressive. And here's what we've come up with so far. And it's only been a few minutes. See all this? Just paint's just coming right off, paint and primer. And what's more is this truck wasn't originally blue. Apparently it was yellow. And when I look at the gloss in the sunlight, I see that even the yellow is still glossy. So some truck painting outfit took this yellow truck and painted it blue. And apparently, according to this, didn't prep it. And then possibly the same outfit, probably not, came along at a later date and painted it metallic beige over the top of the blue. And it was probably two different truck painting outfits that were in charge of these two paint jobs, and they were probably years apart. After all, this truck is 24 years old. And so, quite naturally, when I make a video and I look at somebody else's shoddy, lousy work, and I say something mellow like, man, that's they left me a mess. And then I post the video, and then I see in my comment section somebody publicly ridiculing me because I publicly ridiculed some other painter. And I'm not sure how being a hypocrite is going to teach me a life lesson, but getting in my public comment section and saying, you know, we don't need to see that, we don't need to hear that, you need to go easy on these people, you need to encourage them. They didn't prep it at all. They didn't know that. Everybody knows that. Fourth graders know that you need to prep a paint job before you put paint over it. So to just put paint over the yellow, that's being a crook. You're charging good money for a paint job and you didn't prep it. It's a doomed paint job. And so if a painter isn't going to prep it at all, they're just going to charge you between $18,000 and $35,000 and then take a month to 3 months of your time off of your truck and then hand it back to you having not prepped it at all, they deserve the ridicule 100 out of 100 times. And if you don't want to hear that on my channel, then you might as well go ahead and unsubscribe if you have subscribed and find some other channel. Because this sort of stuff just causes the owner trouble and it causes me trouble. I've already bid this truck and I can't go much over that bid. So now I've got a giant headache on my hands and I have to start more than completely over and then do it in a timely fashion and then charge at least close to what I initially bid the truck at, all because somebody else didn't feel like prepping it 2 times in a row. And they don't deserve ridicule? Well, it looks like I got my work cut out for me. Got another mess on my hands. As you can see, it broke through its pallet on this side. That's why it's kind of sitting all cocked on here. And the plastic looks like a mess because I hauled it home in the back of a pickup. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this guy completely unwrapped, get everything all figured out, get the fluids put in it where it needs to be, get it fired up so I can get going. All right, well, after 3 long afternoon sessions of pressure washing this truck outside, I've got all the paint off of it that's gonna come off of it. Let's go ahead and have a look. In pressure washing this, it was revealed to me that there was hood damage on both sides, on both fenders. You can see just how torn up this fender is. I didn't do that with a pressure washer, I just merely exposed it. Somebody's flimsy bodywork popped out. And as you can see, this was pretty badly damaged. This side over here's had some bodywork done to it and it's been primed. I'm not sure the extent of it, but this is all the more of the paint that I could get to come off of it. As you can see, it broke through right here, and here, and here. And you see there's some bodywork in here. And as we come down the side, this is all the paint I could get to come off of here. Got the paint to come off of the blue. But as you can tell, the blue paint was pretty darn well stuck to the cab. Not stuck here because somebody didn't prep it. Look how glossy that yellow is. It's got its original gloss. It was never prepped. But the cab at some point, to some degree, was. And you can tell, I barely got that to come off and I finally just gave up because I was just whittling away at it. And you can tell here where I was just burning through the blue and into the paint below, which is a metallic brown, at least down here. Up here, that metallic brown doesn't seem to exist. As you come back here, you can see these spots didn't come up because there's bodywork underneath them. And it's not as though the bodywork itself is so tough that it keeps it from coming up. That's not what happens. Somebody at some point did prep parts of this. As you can see, glossy as heck, not prepped. But where some of the dings and dents were, they sanded it and did bodywork. And because they took the time to sand it, the bodywork stuck. And everything on top of the bodywork stuck because they took the time to sand it. That's the difference between prepping and not prepping. Since they prepped the spots where the bodywork were gonna be, I couldn't get the paint to budge. But everything else I got to come off. You can tell this door is not original to this sleeper. This sleeper is not original to this truck. Underneath the dash of a Kenworth, you can see a spot where they say the factory paint color, and the factory paint color is this blue. Now what's funny is this blue exists on the cab, but down here it's over the top of metallic brown. So this panel's not original. The cab is original because the final thing is blue and underneath it is just gray primer. The sleeper is not. It's been replaced. But the doors on the sleeper, I believe, came off of the original sleeper. So the truck got wrecked or something happened. And somebody at some point, this is a 2000 Kenworth, so it's 24 years old. And at some point, somebody replaced the sleeper and put the old doors off of the old sleeper on it. And this is all the more paint I could get to come off of them. And as it turns out, if you see the kind of dull finish here compared to how shiny this is, I think what's happening is the person that painted it sprayed the base coat and then left the base coat too long. Most base clear systems, you can't leave the base coat for over 24 hours before you clear it. If you leave it 2 or 3 days or more and then clear it, it'll look fine, but that clear is destined to come off. It's not truly adhered. You have to do it within 24 hours with most of these paint systems. And I think that what came off of the blue in all these cases was actually the clear. As you can tell on the hood here, it's got that kind of dull finish. I think this is just base coat. And I think the reason that I got all the paint to come off of it the way I did was because the clear came away from the base coat and brought everything that's on top of it with it. These blinkers are going to be shaved because the owner has blinkers down here. And so we're going to shave these blinkers off and leave them off. we're going to be shaving off the spotlight and leaving it off. We're going to be shaving off the horns and leaving them off. We're going to be filling these holes, getting rid of these crappy rubber nutserts, and we're going to be filling these holes where the old visor was. We're going to pull this visor and paint it the same color as the truck. We're going to pull these side visors or whatever you call them, and we're going to paint them the same color as the truck. These panels right here on both sides are going to be replaced with brand new ones. And when we do, we're going to be replacing these hinges with actual spacers. Well, we got our work cut out for us. Might as well get started. All right, so we're at the point where the boys got most of it masked up. Everything that I need to get to and everything that's important to me is masked up. Things like this door handle are not, because I'm going to need to open this door while I'm working on it. Back here, the chassis is not, because I need to get this pogo stick taken down so it's not right in the way of everything else I got to do back here. And I got a lot I got to do back here. So I'm gonna get that all taken loose and taken down, and then we'll get some tarps thrown over this. We'll eventually mask it up with plastic, but for now I'm just gonna throw some tarps on it to keep the bodywork and that sort of thing off of it. And at that point, I need to start figuring out what to leave in and what to leave out. There is a lot of ins and outs on this job. There are so many different facets to what I've got to do on this job. And so I need to basically pick a spot and start working on it. All right, at this point I've got the horns removed. I've got the spotlight removed and the blinkers both removed. Now, all of these holes that are left behind are going to be ground out from the outside, and they're going to have fiberglass inlay put in them. So they'll never, ever, ever come back as a hole again. Now, the reason that some of these spots, as I've mentioned before, some of these spots on the side, I couldn't get them pressure washed off, is because there was bodywork under them. And the bodywork was actually prepped, so everything that the bodywork touched sticks, and everything on top of the bodywork sticks like it should, because it was actually prepped. But here's something I found that's pretty interesting. This good sized dent right here, you can see it was sanded down to bare metal. So you'd think that this would all be prepped, but I was wondering why I blew this right out of here with my pressure washer so easily. And if you get down here, look, see this gloss? Now follow this light. Look at that. Now, if you'll notice closely, this is all dull. But this, in the middle, is not. It's all shiny. And that means that whatever low-life thieving liar worked on this before, and I say thieving liar because they took money for it, they claimed it was a finished job, and it very, very much was not. If they knew how to use a DA sander enough to prep around it, but then left the entire middle of that dent gloss and then just smeared bodywork on it, that's as shoddy as workmanship really ever gets in this business. I mean, they really didn't care about their results. They didn't prep any of this, and they didn't even prep the deepest part of the dent itself. That's pretty low. And so if you're one of those folks that happens to be watching this video that thinks that I don't really have the right, or I shouldn't be heckling or making light of any other person's work because it's not kind, it's not generous and fair, again, stay out of my comment section with that garbage, because people that do that kind of work deserve to be ridiculed. See all these rivets? Now look at the gloss as it comes across it. See that? See that run? That 2-inch long run? And that 2-inch long run? This up here? Another 2-inch long run. Every one of these has runs in the clear coat. 3 out of 4 rivets on this entire thing that when I left the beige on here, which was base clear, 3 out of 4 rivets that were on here. See that? 3 out of 4 rivets had runs from it. You come over here to the driver's side, look. See that? 1.5-inch run. 1.5-inch run. 2-inch run. Every one of these. And do you realize how difficult that's going to be with this coming in like this, and this little ridge right here, and this little ridge right here? You realize how difficult that's going to be to get in there and make all those runs flat? I couldn't get this to come out of here with my pressure washer, or I would have. That's as far as I could get there, and that's as far as I could get there. The middle just wouldn't come out. So I have to get in there and sand every one of those flat, and the whole row is nothing but runs. And then before I go removing all of this, and I am going to remove all of this, look right here. See that? Look at that good sized, it's not even a dent, it's where they burned through the paint and then just painted over it. There's another one right there. See that? Look at that. They just dug right through the paint, dug deep, and then just painted over it. And now that I've got almost everything taken off this truck that I need taken off, I'm going to go ahead and take off the last couple things, which are these panels right here on each side. And you've never seen me take any of these panels off of a Kenworth before, because when you're painting them, there's absolutely no need. But this particular owner sent me spacers to replace this hinge and panels to replace these panels. So these panels are going to be brand new, aftermarket, and there's going to be spacers here to replace this hinge, a hinge whose existence I've never understood anyway. And so the next thing I'm going to do is take off both of these panels and go from there. Okay, there's that. So I'm looking at all this damage on the fender here, and you can tell that this fiberglass has been hit and broken. And on the back side of this, you can tell it's been repaired. Okay, we have this split right here. And you can see that it's still split. It was never repaired. They never did anything about it. They just smeared a little bit of bodywork on the outside and called it good. And then down here, you can see from here all the way around is a patch that somebody placed in there. But it doesn't look like a coherent patch. It doesn't look like they used fiberglass matting or cloth. And so when you put a scraper down here into this crack that never did get sealed up, and the way I do these is I always cut this entire lip off. Otherwise, you're just trying to seal one big flat lip to another. And so when there's no room down here to work, there's nothing down beneath it to actually connect the two, I always cut the entire lip off and then just prep all of this. So this is all fresh fiberglass, and it's prepped well up onto this to hold it there. Somebody else didn't do that. As you can see, when you put a scraper in there and you go prying on it, see that? It just tears. So whatever this is some sort of smear on all-inclusive product, like you can see sometimes on store shelves, where it supposedly has the fibers in it and it'll do the whole job just by smearing it on there like bodywork, but those never work for structural repairs. So I'm going to go ahead and tear all that garbage out of there, prep this like it was supposed to be to start with, and put a real fiberglass repair inside this fender. All right, so as you can see, I went ahead and cut this entire flange out. And for all of this preparation, I'm going to be using a 3-inch roll-lock disc and a die grinder. And a lot of times I'll use a drill, but this time I want to use a die grinder. Whenever I'm doing big prep on big areas, I like to just get it over with, and a die grinder just flies through it. I mean, you can get a lot of prep done with a die grinder. Yeah, it will fill this room with fiberglass dust, but there's nobody else in here today. I'm going to turn on my exhaust fan and get some of that moved towards the end of the shop so it's not just sitting down on everything. All right, and there that repair is all prepped up. There was a brake right here. It's all prepped up on the back side. The back side of where the blinkers were and the front side are both prepped up. And these that held that piece of stainless on the front on both sides have been prepped. The insides of all 4 of these holes that held this kind of metal fairing that comes on a lot of these models of Kenworth are all prepped up on both sides. Where the visor was is all prepped. Where the horns were on both sides is all prepped, and these are dug down almost 1/8 of an inch. I mean, it's more than halfway through the thickness of the fiberglass itself, as you can tell by the thickness of what's left of this hole here. It's not very thick at all, and that's because I've basically cut the thickness in half by digging down in there. That's why inlay, when you do it right, is foolproof. Where the visor was, where the spotlight was, and where the antenna wire comes out, because the antenna wire only comes out the other side of this cab. It doesn't come out this side. So we're going to go ahead and plug this hole too. Now here's these fiberglass repairs, now that they're all repaired. That got those on both sides. That's a sandwiched repair. That's not going anywhere. Looking down into the open hood here, you know, that's where that additional chrome fairing was mounted. Same with the other side. Here's where the spotlight was mounted, and that hole where the antenna cable comes out. That's where the old sleeper, or the old visor was mounted. And that's where the horns were mounted. Both sides. Now this is the passenger side front fender, and I've taken 3-inch roll lock, 24 grit on a drill, and I've dug way down into this. I've dug more than halfway through the thickness of this fiberglass. That way when I put a good heavy repair on here, it's a well sandwiched repair. It's going to be well repaired on both sides. You already saw that I repaired the inside. Now it's getting ready to have a heavy duty repair on the outside as well. And here it is with the repair, just having finished it. Later on I'll come and I'll cut that off, and I'll cut that off. But for now, the repair is just now finished. I've got half of the hood sanded right to the middle up there. Now I'm going to open the hood and begin sanding this other side. So over here on the driver's side of the hood, as you can see, I just stripped everything off of this fender. Got it back down to its gel coat. Got all the paint sanded, all the anomalies out of it. Sanded down more than half of this fender. I mean, the whole thing's been sanded down, but I took the paint off of quite a bit of it. Got the front on both sides sanded. Got this all ground down to a respectable even level where I can go ahead and put bodywork over it. And here's how much bodywork the driver's side fender is going to take to straighten up that chopped up absolute amateur mess that was there. And here it is after it was sanded. You can see by all the darker spots of bodywork how many divots were chopped into this by the previous so-called body man that was in here. And now it's all smooth. Now it feels like a brand new fender again. And back here you can see I'm getting it chipped away at this. All of this beige paint used to come all the way down into here, and I'm using 2 different electric rotary sanders, and I'm using 2 of them because when they start to get hot, then I'll unplug it and set it aside and then use the other one for a while to initially get the bulk of the paint off, and then I'm using my DA sanders to start getting in closer and doing a more thorough job of removing all of this blue and beige paint. Okay, at this point I've got most of the sanding and prep back here done. The bodywork prep anyway. I still have a little bit of the blue paint down there at the bottom that I have to actually pull all this stuff back out of the way and hand sand out from around those rivets. But the rest of it is pretty much ready. I'm not sure that the sleeper's been replaced. It might have just been that the roof cap and all of the skins on the walls were actually replaced, which would more easily explain why the doors are still the original color, and would also explain why so many of these rivets are shiny, have never been abraded, have never been touched, they've never had paint on them, even factory paint. So I tend to believe that this was re-skinned with used skins off of another truck, and I've seen some fair evidence of that. For instance, see that gouge? See that gouge? Right there? Here's the back of the sleeper, here's the roof cap of the sleeper. See those gouges? Why would those be there but they aren't into the rivet at all? And those, why would those be there but not into the rivet? And those as well. I believe that it's because there's a fair chance that somebody took the roof cap and all the skins off of this sleeper and replaced them with used ones off of another sleeper. And that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, the idea doesn't make perfect sense to me, but the evidence shows me that that's probably what happened. And here I am, more than half done. All that's been sanded. This has just been applied. All right, well, at this point, it's been multiple days of me being out here chipping away at the extensive amount of problems that this truck has had. And I've got pretty much all of them taken care of at this point. As you can see, the paint's been taken off the sleeper roof cap, and the bodywork's been done. Most of the sanding's been done. The boys are gonna be here any minute. We're gonna go ahead and finish the scratching, finish the sanding, remask some of the things that came loose during the process, mask up the door handles. I needed to be able to open and close the doors during the process. Those sorts of things. That way this afternoon I can go ahead and get wet sanding primer on the whole thing. Just working on getting through the process here. Just about got it scratched and remasked up in spots. Just about ready to go ahead and get some primer on. All right, so yesterday the boys and I got this 100% ready, so I went ahead and got it 100% in primer. top to bottom, front to back, every square centimeter of this thing is now in wet sanding primer. And today, I'm the only one here today. I gave the boys the day off because this is my job, this is my duty. And now today I'm going to spend my entire day sanding this entire truck top to bottom all the way back down, getting it as nice and flat as I possibly can. So by tonight, hopefully I can have the black primer on it. And that way tomorrow I can go ahead and get it painted. Well, it's noon here the next day, so it's been a full day and a half of heavy, meticulous sanding. But I got this entire thing sanded from top to bottom, front to back, everywhere in between. Got the visors sanded, had the boys do that, had them hang them up down here off some ladders. And at this point, I'm finally ready to mix up some black primer and get this thing primed. Went ahead and primed it, gave the primer plenty of time to get cured out, went ahead and wiped everything down with the tack rag after it was cured out, mixed up all my black paint. Now I'm ready to get some paint on this guy. Well, here it is the next morning. This had all night to sit and cure. The boys headed south for the weekend to go visit relatives, so I'll be here today by myself putting this guy back together. I'm going to go ahead and look it over here quick. If there's nothing that needs to be addressed, I'm going to go ahead and get this guy unmasked, get it put back together. now we got this guy all finished up. Let's go ahead and walk around it and have us a look. All right, here we have a 2000 Kenworth W900 Aerocab. And as you saw when it showed up, it had multiple paint issues we needed to sort through. Had a big break here at the corner of the hood that we completely fixed. It looks brand new. You can't tell anything was ever wrong. We fixed the inside and the outside. And over here, it had multiple issues across the top of this fender. Again, this fender looks brand new. Looks like it's never ever had any issues at all. And we also shaved the horns off, the spotlight, and the hole that was right next to the spotlight that had one of the antenna wires coming through. This truck just has a single antenna. Doesn't look like those components were ever there to start with. Top of the hood's got a good shine on it. Looks brand new. Fenders had the blinkers shaved off. You can't tell they were ever there. You can tell by the side of the hood. You can see my reflection. See the reflection of the window on the side there. My shop wall behind me. Same within the door. Same within the sleeper. And we replaced these panels right here on both sides. Got rid of the hinges altogether and replaced them with some spacers. Painted the visor black inside and out. Painted these little side visors black inside and out. Took them off the truck to do it. Fixed the back of the sleeper. It was full of dents. It had all kinds of paint issues from the top to the bottom. It had dents all over the place. It looks basically brand new again. Well, it might have taken a little more time and effort than we initially thought it was going to, but here we are at the end, and now this truck can get back to transporting important staging and musical equipment for multiple famous musicians all over this countryside. Hey, if you like this video, take the time to hit the like button. And if you want to see more of what goes on around here, you should check me out on Facebook at Flash Industrial Painting. And if you want to see more videos like this, or domestic auto body, or gardening, or art, or any of the many things we do around here, you might as well go ahead and subscribe, because you know, we always got something going on. We'll see you guys around.